Hi, I'm Trace, and I wanted to make a little video to update. Our journey through water court has come to a close. We finished water court for the fish farm, and it started in uh, 2019, and so it was a long journey. Uh, a little bit of history to how we got here. So, my dad, Corky, had um, farmed on this property since 1957. And in the 1980s, particularly around 1988, we saw $8 a bushel corn, and that was just unheard of, And we thought farming was it. We thought, what else would you want to do? What else could you do? Uh, well, fast forward 40 some years, and we're we have these lakes and a fish farm, and I've been using them, to hold fishing derbies for kids and raising fish and this and that and the other. And it all started in 2005 when it came time to build my house on this original homestead here in the pasture where I was going to live. Um, we didn't farm anymore. I was a window and door contractor doing construction, but we had all these water rights and nothing to really do with them. And Corky, my dad, he never was going to sell his water rights. Never wanted to sell his water rights. All through the years, many attempts to buy his water rights manifested, and he always said no. I'm going to keep my water. He would rent a few shares down the ditch or whatever to farmers that needed water, whatever. But he never wanted to sell them. So when we were building my house, we moved in April 2006, and he said, "What do you want to do with these with the water here on this farm?" And I said, "Well, I would really like to build lakes and raise fish." And and from that moment, my dad was like, "Oh my God, that's a great idea. We can use the water. We'll have a use for them. Let's do that." So in 2007, I started building lakes, and we had one original lake that was here since 1974 that Corky irrigated out of. He would run water to the Narrows farm right below us down here, half mile down the ditch, and he would irrigate a center pivot. He raised beets, he raised corn, whatever. But I wanted to build two lakes above the original pond and one lake below for a total of four in a watershed waterfall pattern down. One lake feeds the next. That was my idea, and Dad was all for it. Okay, let's do that. So, and it was a long process. It was an expensive process. Now that we're all done, and we have four lakes and four dams that average about $3.5 million each, just to build something like that. It was quite a lot of physical work along next, not even mentioning the money side of it. But the whole time, what I wanted to do was I wanted a place that children could fish for free. And we set an age limit, 14 and under. We started doing Take Kids Fishing Days. That was what I wanted to do, because since I was a kid, I loved going fishing. we'd go down to the river and seine some minnows and go over to Jackson Lake and spend a whole afternoon catching perch and to eat, and that's what everybody did. Well, what happened was in Colorado, the farmers have these reservoirs that for Jackson Lake, for the instance, in the 20s, it was set up to store water so farmers could irrigate beets and potatoes. You know, they needed a water store for crops that weren't supported by the rains in this part of northeastern Colorado. Okay, so you have these reservoirs. Well, and then later, you know, in the 60s and 70s and 80s, then you got everybody that wants to do recreation, wants to go fishing, and that's where I come in. In the 80s, we loved to go over to the reservoir and fish. Well, when the water is tight and there's a less than average rainfall in a year, the farmers draw those reservoirs down to nothing. Well, it kills all the fish. So it's sad, but that's just the way it is. You know, agriculture is precedent because the lakes and reservoirs around here, whether it's Empire, Jackson Lake, Riverside Reservoir, North Sterling Pruitt, all were built to support agriculture. Okay, well, the reality is then you have the sportsmen and the Division of Wildlife, and they want to sell fishing licenses, so they start stocking fish like rainbow trout in Jackson Lake, and they grow fast and they grow big, and everybody's into fishing because they can sell licenses. Okay, and then about 4 years, they have good water for 4 years, and then there's a little bit of a drought again, and that lake's drawn down to nothing. All the fish die, and then they have no licenses to sell to anybody to go fishing. Well, that's the reality when you have agricultural water in an area where you have more sportsmen and people who want to recreation, want to water ski, or want to go fishing, than you have farmers in a field needing water to irrigate a pivot. Okay, that's the reality. All right, so back to my story. Our water rights, we had them, and I wanted to build lakes, and I wanted to have a place where kids can come fishing for free. No state licenses, no regulations, no burden from the state dictating what a child can and cannot do if they want to fish. I wanted to build that here for them free, and that's what we did. Well, I had all the lakes built, 4 lakes. Everything was working, and in 2019, Division I Water comes out here and they like, what is going on here? And so we told them, and they're like, well, you can't do this. This is all illegal. You cannot impound or impede or stop a single drop of water in the state of Colorado. You cannot own it. And both Corky and myself said, well, we have these water rights. We own the water. It's our shares to do what we want with. And he said, yes, for agriculture, not growing fish, not setting up a fish farm, not because if you're growing fish and you're setting up a fish farm, where's your evaporation go? Where does the water that's augmentating into the ground go? Where are all your uses for your agricultural shares? Where are they going? Are they going back to support agriculture or something totally different? And at that point, we just had no idea we were doing anything wrong. And the guy from Division I Water was John Batkia. Awesome guy, super smart, college educated, but also the common sense of a farmer. He's out here, and we're like, oh my God, are we going to have to take all these dams out and get rid of these lakes? And he said, no, absolutely not. these lakes are perfect for help restoring the water table in northeastern Colorado. Let's set up augmentation plan. Let's set up water use stuff. So John took the lead. John Bacchia took the lead, and he said, "Okay, you can do some farming and have your fish farm and your lakes and do what you want with them. Go water skiing. I don't care." But his advice to us was to have some farmland under irrigated water and also have the lakes, the fish farm, so that our agricultural water shares had usage where we could show that it was going to both. It was going to support agriculture and fish farming. Well, I started planting trees, and I thought, okay, I'll grow trees, and I started planting 300 trees a year. That's what we get from the Forest Service. They'd give you 300 trees a year, and now I'm over 1,900, so I've got a lot of trees. But the whole reason I started planting trees was to establish use for our agricultural water. Okay, so that was the beginning of the plan. And then, and this is 2019, and then he said, you need to enter into water court and go through the process to secure your water so that the Front Range housing boom can't steal it, can't take it. And Dad and I looked at each other like, well, they can't steal it, they can't do it. And John said, you take a drive up Highway 85 north of Greeley through Alton, Nunn, and all those little towns halfway to Cheyenne, and you will find farmer after farmer after farmer whose rights were taken right out from under them. And they dried those farms up and they sell them to developers for the housing boom all along the Front Range. You go look at, we live in the desert, and they're building like crazy up there. Housing, everybody gets a lawn. Every lawn needs water. They pay this water tap enormous amount of money, but they get it. And where do they get that water? There's only so much snow and rain in the mountains that come down the South Platte Shed into the South Platte River. They already shut off the wells in northeastern Colorado in the 90s and 2000s. They started telling farmers, you can't use anymore. The water table's gone down so far, you can't use it anymore. Farmers that have been generational farmers having fields and fields of irrigated corn were bust overnight. Okay, but every house that gets built on that Front Range, they get a lawn. And so they come out here and they take the water from the farmers, so they have all these credits to pool on the Front Range to support. Just look at Chimney Park Reservoir they're building now. They already had Horsetooth Reservoir. They already had Carter Lake to support the drinking water. And there's such a deficit, they had to build a whole nother reservoir. And there's all the water spoken for coming down the South Platte eastern slope. Where are they going to get it? How are they going to fill that water? They're going to take it from all the farmers downstream, all the credits they can, and they're going to pool it, and they're going to pull the water. Look at Lake Granby. You've got a huge pumping station that sends the water up over the Continental Divide and comes down right into Carter Lake for drinking water. And Denver's running short on water. They can build a reservoir in a desert with no way to fill it and take water from other places and fill them. And that pumping station that pumps out of Granby, that is the Colorado River watershed that they're taking that water from. What's happening in Lake Powell? What's happening in Lake Mead? What's happening every mile of the Colorado River till you get to California? Look what's happened. That's what they're doing in Colorado. So John Bacchia says, if you want to keep your water shares, your water rights, you need to go through water court and secure them. And what you got going here is great, but this is how you do it. You need to enter into water court. Okay. Heath Kuntz, he's our water attorney from Adaptive Resources. He was brought in, suggested by John Bacchia to us. So we go in and we sit in a meeting with him. We're like really worried. Oh my God, what can we do to keep these lakes? Can we even have lakes? He thought, oh yeah, that's fine. And I'm like, and I have all these worries and concerns, and so did my dad. We're like, what do you mean it's fine? He's all, we'll just go through water court and get everything done legally, and it'll be fine. And I said, it's that easy? And he said, oh yeah, it's super easy. And Corky said, how come you see all these people in water court that have their water rights taken away and their plan fails and all this? And he said, because they're not establishing proper use to their water rights. And you know, Corky and I looked at each other and we thought, we were all ears at that point. And we asked Heath, we said, tell us how to do this. Heath started talking and telling us about how to do this out here. And Corky and I were just blown away. We were amazed that this is going to be such a big plan, but it can work and it will work. And you have somebody like Heath Kuntz that has worked on big water projects for many years, and he gets them done. He gets them done legally, and you have Heath sitting across the table from me telling you, oh yeah, it'll be fine. We can do this, no problem. So at that point, we were like, okay, we're going to water court. We didn't know at that point what would be involved and how long of a process it was. And the first thing Division One Water wanted us to do was to rebuild every dam that I had built. So I had 4 dams I had to rebuild, and they wanted infrastructure in them so that if there was a call on the river, the state could pull water out of these lakes with drains on the bottom of them and send it downstream. And at the time when they first told us that, Corky and I were just scared to death. Oh my God, they're going to take the water out of the lakes and the fish are going to die. No, that's where Heath Kuntz comes in, our water attorney, and he said, that's when the state calls your water, you have all these water rights in reserve to come back in over the top of these lakes and refill, recharge. You already got that. Oh, okay. Well, how does that work? How do we do that? Well, we had to go through water court. Now, first, after they wanted the dams rebuilt, then they said, he says, we're changing your agricultural water rights to aquaculture water rights to support the fish hatchery and fish farming business. And at that point, Dad and I were all ears. And so what does that involve? He said, we got to enter that into water court. And at the end of the court, a judge will rule on it, and they'll say your plan is a go or whatever. But to do that, you have to have a water plan that addresses and recharges evaporation, augmentation into the ground, the loss, and you also have to establish use. So not only do you have the fish hatchery and the fish farm, you have the agricultural side where we were irrigating trees, flood irrigating. We had some grass that was flood irrigated. So it's a complicated process, but anyways, that's why we went into water court to get all that done. So that took 6 years. We finished, just last week we finally finished and entered into water law. Now, what we didn't know at the time was how it was all going to work, but we have riverside water rights, and we also have springs here on the farm where I built the lakes that they kind of support each other. So the state gets augmentation that's going in the ground, and the state is satisfied that our evaporation is paid by our spring recharge and our water rights. And if there is a call on the river, the state is satisfied that we have enough water rights to where the lakes won't be drawn dry and kill the fish. We have a recharge right. So all that had to get done and taken care of. And we had big objectors in the beginning to our water plan, like Thornton Water and some of the big companies on the Front Range. And we thought, oh my God, we're never going to be able to financially stay in the game when you have big money like that voice an objection and legally objecting to our water plan. And then Heath Kuntz told us, no, they are objecting because they have to get in the case to monitor it, to see what we're doing with the water. That's all we're doing. And when Heath told us that, it was really reassuring. Well, then we have local objectors, these little ditch companies and stuff that all object to any water in Morgan County being used for anything other than irrigating corn or going to cattle. And that was their whole prerogative. So they kept objecting, and he said, just let them do it. Just stay in the game. It's part of the process. You're going to have people that don't agree with you. You're going to have people that don't want what you are trying to do. And that's what Water Court is for. It's for them to have their opportunity to voice concerns and this and that, or what they wanted to get out of it. We have to go through Water Court, and this is part of the process. This is the way it goes. So we would have been done years ago, but we had local objectors that kept objecting after objection after objection, that they did not want any water in Morgan County being used to raise or support fish, even though it was for to raise fish so that children could fish here for free. That didn't matter. They wanted every drop of water they could get their hands on for irrigation to crops and water for cattle. That was it. So, but all along, Heath Kuntz, our water attorney, told us this is part of the process. This is their right. They can object to any reason they want to. We have to go through Water Court, and you have to let a water referee and a judge finally decide at the end. But before we get to the end, you need a water plan in place that's rock solid and shows proof to the state that your plan is satisfying augmentation, evaporation, and calls on the river. So that's what we did. And now that we're through it all, I can do what I want. We got the fish hatchery. We can raise fish. We can do these Take Kid Fishing Days tournaments. Well, in 2020, I had an accident and I have a traumatic brain injury, and I've been doing what I can to just keep going. I'm very thankful that I'm still here. It's been getting harder, and this fall, our fall Take It Kids Fishing Days was the first one that we had to cancel because of my health concerns. I've just had to pause it and assess my health, and I'm doing really well, and our hope is to next May of 2026 bring back Take Kids Fishing Days and start that all up again. That's my hope, but for this fall I had to take a step back and focus on my health. So I'm very happy, doing very well. I have a team of doctors behind me. I have my wife Sabrina behind me that takes care of everything from legal to just taking care of me, and it's just a blessing, and I wouldn't have anything without our Lord and Jesus Christ, always there bringing me along, and very thankful for all that. But finishing Water Court, now moving forward, Now we have a water plan that we can augmentate, we can pay evaporation, we can do all these things with all our water rights that we've had since 1957, without selling them, without sacrificing them and letting these construction companies that build houses on the Front Range have them so they can put in another house with another lawn in a desert that does not have water. We were just bound and determined never to let that happen with our water rights. It's almost criminal what they do. They're building houses. You look around Greeley, Loveland, Fort Collins, down into Denver, all along those Front Range. When you're on I-25 and you see these rolling seas of homes, and you think every one of those homes gets a lawn and they get to water it, where does all that water come from? It comes from these family farms since the early 1900s out here in northeastern Colorado, getting their rights taken away right out from underneath them so that the construction companies have those rights to build more houses, and they can sell a water tap. And it's all coming to an end. It's all coming to a head because the state's bust on water. There is no more snow. There is no more rain that's ever going to fall in the mountains than what's fell in the last 150 years that they have the average on. It's only going to get worse. We are drying up. If you look at the latitude line that runs through Colorado and you follow it around the globe, you'll see that it runs right through the frickin' Sahara Desert in Africa, in Egypt and all that area. And what is that place? It is a frickin' desert, nothing but sand. But millions of years ago, it was a lush rainforest. Why? The climates have changed and it has shifted. And what happened in Africa with the desert is happening right now in northeastern Colorado. People may not want to admit it, but it's going to get drier and drier and drier and drier. And all the groundwater and all the snow and rain from the eastern slopes of the Rockies is being taxed to the point where it's there's a deficit. So when there's a deficit and they still want to build homes and they still need water, they come out and they rob the farmers and they take their water rights right out from under them so that they can sell another water tap to build another house on the Front Range. And we weren't going to let that happen with our water. Dad passed away in 2022, but he was quite pleased with the water plan. He was quite pleased with Heath Kuntz, our water attorney, and John Batkia, District 1 Water, people that have brought us along and helped us. It's just been a long journey getting to this point, and we're very thankful. So Corky passed away in 2022, and Connie Tomky took over. She still owns the farm and the water plant and everything, and I've just been managing it and living here and running it, and that's what we're going to continue to do. But we will never allow our shares of water, our water rights, to go to another water tap on the Front Range where they continue to build in a desert that has no water. Then we're not going to be a part of that. And you look at what's happening on the southern part of the Colorado River. You go from Lake Powell, Lake Mead, and all the people that are desperate for water, and they get water restrictions and all this stuff. It's because the water was taxed to a deficit on the western slope, just the same way they're starting to do on the eastern slope in northeastern Colorado. And I'll be damned if they're going to get our water rights just so some white collar kid that fresh out of college can frickin' sell another damn water tap on the Front Range where there's no water. But anyways, I wanted to update everybody on what had happened and how we got to this point, and we are finished with water court, and hopefully Take a Kids Fishing Days will return here with the good Lord's blessing and Jesus giving me another day. So we'll see what happens in 2026. So I just wanted to update everybody. I know this is a long video, but thanks for watching.